So I want to show a few Mustang owners. This is a red seat come out of a 97 Ford GT Hatchback Mustang. And as you Mustang owners know, the rear seats are the hardest part to get a seat cover for. So I'm painting the rear seats with this Fabricoat black. So far on this seat right here, the back bench seat, I put on about 3/4 of a bottle. And as you can see, it's drying behind me, right? And it's turning back slowly back to that velvet red color. And so it's going to take 2 coats. And those 2 coats, at least 2 coats, you're going to put this on. You don't put it on too thick, not too thin, because what you want to do at the first coat is let it dry, and then it'll have a base so that it doesn't soak into the fabric so far. Because here's what I want to show you. Okay, pretty good bit on that brush, right? Watch this. Yep, not that much, is it? You turn the brush over, not going to do you much more good. You can try to spread it. Doesn't do very much, right? So if I had this paintbrush fully loaded to the gills, right up to the silver, and I put it down on there, like, it's going to do the exact same thing. It just goes down. It doesn't come across, it just goes down. So you can do the same thing, just a little bit on your brush, or you can pile it on this brush and do the exact same thing again. You're gonna have the same daggum results, except for just a little bit wetter in that one zone. And then you're gonna run out of material, or you're just gonna, that $26, something like that, a bottle, it can get real expensive real fast. This is something they don't tell you. They tell you to wet the material a little bit, and I do that. I don't overwet it, because overwetting it actually dilutes the material down, makes it longer and harder to dry. And so, you know, I'm pretty quick when I put it down, and I try to spread. I tried to shoot this earlier, and I forgot the camera was off, and I was showing how to do these seams, and this is how you do it. You do it real quick, all right? And be generous with it, but you do it real quick, and it doesn't have time to puddle. More or less at the ends it does, but see that? That's a lot of paint, right? And so then I'll wet the brush and I kind of angle it like that, and just kind of work it real fast. That's why you want to use a brush like this, and you don't want to use a dauber brush or those round brushes. They're too slow. They don't coverage enough area. I think this is about a 2.5 inch, or maybe it's I think it's almost a 3-inch brush. And you can go all kinds of ways with it. Now, how does it work out for quality and for stiffness? Well, the advertisements say that, you know, it's soft and you know, plush, kind of, it leaves it soft and plush. Yeah, that's true if one coat will cover it. But when you get into that second coat, that all ends. That first coat, it's not so bad. It is kind of soft. When you get into that second coat, you're basically painting over top of a harder surface. So when it dries, it'll soak in a little bit better, but it's not something you're gonna wear shorts on. I'll promise you that. You try to sit somebody in the back seat in shorts and they go to the beach or whatever, or a swimming hole, they're gonna have red, chewed up legs by the time they get there, because this stuff does dry hard. But I give it this, it's not as hard as that spray on paint. You know, the vinyl and fabric paints, that really, it starts out rigid, and it takes a lot to coat. And this, for a coating to turn it black, I guess I do like this the best. I was impressed with it, even though it takes a lot. And I'll stop for a minute and show you, because you can stop anytime you want on this thing. Show you one I've finished, or two. So this is the back seat parts right here. And this is the, you know, I bought the rear carpet from LMS, and it came with these to put on. It ain't an easy task either putting those on because you got to cut your own holes. But this is the, get that off of there. This is a finished seat. Now I finished this one yesterday and I used a heat gun to dry it. This one I finished about 5 days ago. Now I do have a small bit of video where I'm touching and rubbing on the red before it's ever touched and then afterwards, just to give an idea of how it dries, but maybe you can hear it. Now I'll come over here real quick and let you hear what it sounds like here. Hear that? It's a big difference, ain't it? We'll go back over here one more time. We'll do it to this one. And so you can feel it, but I'll tell you what, you know, for the cost of the seat covers and all, and really and truly, those little Mustangs, most people don't sit in the back seat anyway. It's usually a two-person car. If you're in the back seat, you're a pretty small person. And you can always throw down like a sheet or something for people to ride on. But it beats the heck out of paying exorbitant prices for seat covers, because they're very rare to find where they're not under at least 150, 200 bucks. That actually fit, like the kind of fit where it almost looks like the real seat. And it's just too much money for that purpose. So the front seats, you can find them all day long. The front seats in this car are red, the same color, and all the interior is black. But the front seats, I could find covers for that fit like factory. I mean, they costed almost nothing, you know. I think it was like 60 bucks. And they fit perfect. Absolutely. You couldn't tell that wasn't the real seat. It's the rear seat where you get into trouble with these like 93s and down Mustangs, where you can't get any kind of seat cover to fit right. So the sides were painted with the fabric paint. And I'll tell you something else. It doesn't really matter if you shield it. So at first I started out a piece of cardboard and I'm spraying. Then I realized it soaks it up so fast. And there's not really that big a color change that you can tell. So I just kind of quit using the cardboard and started spraying. But this is, I use this to clean with. And man, it does good. Somebody had painted a little bit of black. I mean, well, a little bit. They got into this when they was painting some of that's the back rear plastic cover. And this takes it, you know, let this sit on there for a few seconds, wipe it down really good. It just takes it right off. And it really cleans down. I don't put it on the cloth. What I use on that is alcohol, 50% denatured alcohol and 50% water. And then I let it dry. It don't take no time for that mixture to dry. And I come in here and I rub and clean. Try to get what the issue can be on these, and will give you a bad paint job, is when people use Scotch Guard or one of those kind of protectants on the seats. What it's going to do is when you go to use this material, this Fabricoat or paint, whatever you're going to do, it's not going to soak into the material, because that's exactly what Scotch Guard's built for. It's built to repel. And so you've got to get that. You got to make sure that you can get this cover to soak up something. And doing that with alcohol and water has worked for me, you know, 50-50. And then take a little bit of water and mist over the top and just rub your hand and see if it soaks into the cloth. If it soaks into the cloth, then this will soak into the cloth right here. But yeah, I use plastic adhesion promoter on the sides, and that stuff works pretty good. And then follow it with the vinyl and fabric color. And you know, this stuff is pretty impressive in its own. I'm not going to say so on cloth, But on these covers right here, when you have them off the frame and off the foam, in order to get them back on, there's a lot of bending, flexing, and pulling and stretching on this vinyl. And I was really impressed. I thought at first, by the time I get done with all this, it's going to be cracks, spider cracks all in it. It's going to try to flake off. It's just going to be a mess. Wow, was I blown away with how much you can distort that material, and that paint acts as if it is a piece of vinyl. It just stays with it. It doesn't crack. It doesn't blemish or anything. And I'm talking about folding these things up and stretching and pushing on them on a table, trying to get them right. I do advise, if you're not changing the carpet on the back or you're not changing anything about it, don't take the covers off. You watch a lot of videos and these people take the covers off and they prefer to do it that way. It is really difficult to work with a cover, especially trying to paint the sides when it's all distorted and it's all crunched up, and you're trying to keep it straight and not have curves and edges that are bent. And so I advise myself not, and that's my opinion on this, is leave them on there. If you don't have to take them off, don't take them off. Plus, you know, the hardware that you have to use to put these things back on, and it ain't easy to use hog ring pliers down in these folds to put the wires back together to hook this back to the foam, and then the foam itself, keeping it to that plastic frame that's underneath. It likes to come loose. There's only like a few big staples holding it in there. All of this combined, really, to me, if I wasn't doing the carpet on the back, wasn't worth it. If you do pull these off, the plastic rivets on the fronts are the worst to bust off. And they bust off and they leave a little spud, a Christmas tree spud inside that plastic frame. And you're going to have no choice but to push that in. And when you do, you can shake this seat and it sounds like it's got like a box of rocks. It's just rattling all around. You can imagine how rough one of these Mustangs are. This is what you're going to be hearing while you're driving down the road, is this like a box of rocks being shook. So then you have to drill a hole in the back, quite a big one, that weakens the plastic in order to bounce these things out of the inside of here. So be really careful when you're pulling those Christmas trees out of these fasteners out. And get ready to have a handful of those and a handful of hog ring pliers to put these things back together. It's not an easy job. One of the reasons I ain't even touching this about taking it apart, I will finish this up, and it'll take me, I use a heat gun to dry it. There's the heat gun, and it don't take but about 15 minutes, 10 minutes of blow drying, and these things are dry. And so today I'll be able to put on, within 2 hours, I'll be able to put on at least almost 3 coats. Those over there only took, the backs only took 2 coats. This bench seat, I got a feeling it's going to take 3. But I wanted to show how fast this, and it doesn't matter how much paint is on the brush, it will soak it all up right there. You don't get to spread it like you're painting a wall. It just globs in, goes in, and doesn't want to move no more. And so you can waste all your paint trying to coverage that way, you know, with a lot of paint on your brush, or you can just use a little paint on your brush and do quick, easy, don't press down, quick movements, and then just kind of like spread it, and then kind of, you know, go at it to keep from having using so much of that paint. Again, that first coat is just it doesn't really do much. I mean, for color wise, if you stand back about 10 feet, you'd think this thing was pure black. But as you can see, the red's starting to show through more and more on this side as it dries. And when I get out that dryer and I hit it, it's even going to get more red's going to show up. But I'm going to seal it with this, and then I'm going to follow up with a coat that will still soak through, but will spread a lot better. That little daub right here, when I do it next time, after this is on, I could probably get from here all the way over to here with that daub with one movement, because it kind of seals up and hardens. But if you can do it with one coat, you're probably going to get what the manufacturer of that Fabricoat says, nice, soft, you know, like it didn't change much. But you're not going to do that unless you're putting white on white to cover a stain or something, and you only need one coat. Yeah, great. Otherwise, man, you better not be wearing no shorts when you get in these seats, because it's going to eat the bottom of your legs up. All right, so anyway, hope that helps anybody that's trying to do this without, you know, and even if you're not doing a Mustang, just knowing how to work the Fabricoat before you buy it. It takes a lot. You better have a lot on hand. You know, you can always sell it back on eBay or whatever. But yeah, it takes a lot. I bought six bottles, and I'm down to 3 1/4 of a bottle, you know, so doing all of this. I think it was 1 bottle for each of those, and right now this one coat is getting down to about 1 bottle, and so I'll probably use another bottle on it. But I've heard of nightmare stories of people saying, you know, online that they've used, you know, 5 or 6 bottles on a chair. Well, heck, man, you got to back up and think about what you're doing. How this stuff is working, and not just keep globbing it on, because you can you can put a whole bottle right here in this little area if you want to, because it just soak it up. It'll just takes it, and just disappears. Or you can think smart and do thin coats as best as you can get it covered, let that dry, then come back and put it on heavy, and you get a heck of a lot better result. Anyway, oh, see those pads down there? Yeah, I know everybody's seen those before. Those are the purple, white, black pads, that scuffing pads. Those things work great on this vinyl to prep it. Matter of fact, I'll get all the goo or paint or whatever off, and then I recoat it with this, and then I'll go over it with one of those scuff pads, and then I wipe up the residue, and I go over it one more time with this and just a cloth and the vinyl, and it does great. Anyway, thanks for watching.